Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast presented by Gameday Tailgate Experience. Make your plans to join the Pittsburgh Steelers as they take on the Jacksonville Jaguars November 18th for scheduled for now for Sunday Night Football, but we know there's flex scheduling. Make your plans at gtepresents.com. You could get tickets for the big tailgate party, the big pregame. There's going to be some legends there. I know I'm excited. I'm going to be headed down there for it. I'll have some more details in the middle of this show, but before I get to all of those juicy details, I have a juicy co-host who has returned. I don't think you like the word juicy, Brian, but welcome back.
Yeah, I don't think I'm juicy. I'm kind of dry.
You're, what was that? Warm and soft or whatever that thing was you were throwing in my face for practically a month when those other guys.
Smooth and silky.
So, we have a new sponsor, so I'd like to welcome GTE or Gameday Tailgate Experience to the program. You'll be hearing about this over the coming weeks in the course of the coming months as this Jaguars game comes up. I'll have a little bit more details on how you could get 20% off your tailgate ticket in the middle of this program, but we have some football to talk about. I was at Friday Night Lights. Zach Meckler, who has been your replacement player for the last couple of shows, was on the opposite side of the field because there was like 10,800 and some people there, and we just could not connect. It was elbow to elbow. It was pandemonium, and it was pretty cool if you get lucky with the whole autograph thing. If you're the autograph chaser, I know you are, Brian, with your, we've still got the helmet-worthy thing going on. If anyone wants to go to steelcityunderground.com/helmet-worthy, we're going to be picking some new people for the signed mini helmets, some of the players. Brian has like practically anybody who's ever worn a black and gold jersey signed on a helmet, jersey, I don't know, terrible towels, whatever it is. And I know some people try to do the autograph-seeking thing, and I got to tell them, once again, I got another cool story from Friday Night Lights, but it's mostly luck. The reason I couldn't connect with Zach is that he was there early. He got a spot. He was in the stands. It is packed. I walk up. It's about almost 7 o'clock. I got there late. I couldn't find a place to park. I walk in. There's a mob. Ben Roethlisberger signing. That never happens. So if you get there early and you happen to be up front in the fence and happen to pick a spot where Ben walks to, you get lucky. I'll give you another example. I'm watching practice. It's probably about 7:30. This thing kicked off at like 7 o'clock, ran to about 9:30, which was actually late. I think they advertised 9 o'clock, but whatever. They're going to get all their work in. It's usually about a 2.5 to 3 hour practice to begin with, whatever the CBA says. That their maximum is permitted for a day. So I'm just standing over I'm moving around. I'm trying to catch the defensive drills, the offensive drills. Everybody's broken off into groups at certain points. And lo and behold, walking right around the track by me. Yes, walking without the assistance of a cane. Ryan Shazier could have touched him if I wanted to. He was that close. That's how you get lucky with some of this stuff. I got another story from this, though, Brian, but would you agree, though, like we got our other partner who's Total Sports Enterprises. They've already announced some signings that are coming up before some of the Steelers home games here, September and October. If you go and check out their website as well, you can you pay for a ticket. Some of them are nominal, like I think Chris Boswell's like $25, and you could get him to sign something for you. But otherwise, you kind of just got to get lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of the players will sign it at camp, but everybody kind of knows that, and so you've got a mass of people trying to get it. And some of them, I know some of the rookies have been hanging around signing until everyone is gone. I think Terrell Edmonds did it one day, Marcus Allen did it another day. So you can get something signed. It depends on who's signing and when they're signing and when who decides to do what and where you happen to be pushed up against the fence. A little luck, but you can get something.
Yeah, I think I mentioned the Cam Hayward thing, the Antonio Brown thing, the Juju Smith-Schuster situation on the previous show. Those things just don't have. I mean, I can't tell you, like, probably 1 in a million, maybe. I mean, it's just it's wild. It's not that the players are trying to be jerks, especially in this scenario. So, as everyone knows, Terry Fletcher had pranked me probably about a year ago, making a bet on whether Landry Jones would get re-signed, and I have a Landry Jones Steelers jersey, a custom jersey. And the running thing had been, I'm going to get this sucker signed. Now, I'm not the big autograph seeker whatsoever. Like, I saw Cam and Marcus Gilbert and these guys, and, they're signing stuff for other people. They're signing stuff with my cousin, the little man that was there, his nephew. That's all cool. Like, other people take selfies and pictures. I respect their space. I've been on the other side of the line when it comes to autograph sessions and whatnot. And it's like, when you're unknown, you're going to be the guy that's going to sign more. When you're the guy who's like the superstar, you have no privacy in your life. You can't go anywhere, even to the bathroom, without someone trying to shove something in front of you, which is another great point. Make sure whichever you're shoving in front of them is something worthwhile. Don't pull out the paper roster you have folded in eighths that they gave you walking into training camp that you're probably going to lose in a drawer or throw away. Make sure it's something of value. And I think most people do that, but every now and then I see somebody with like a paper plate that their concessions were on or something, and there's still like ketchup and mustard on it. And it's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So as the guys are leaving Friday Night Lights, I'm making sure I got my eyes peeled, and I'm probably the moron. I'm the bozo here. I'll tell you this. It's kind of funny because TJ Watt ends up being like right on my like right elbow, like right there. I'm standing by the gate, and Landry Jones is walking by, and I'm yelling for Landry Jones, and he's probably thinking I'm some type of troll that isn't, oh, these guys are making fun of me, I'm a backup, or people are just yelling my name, and they're just trying to get to the bus and go back to the dorms, because this is at the high school, this isn't at the college where they're, roomed and stationed for camp. So finally, he's almost at the gate, and I yell, Landry, I have your jersey. And he gives like this, he looks back, because now I have his attention, and he looks, and you can almost lip read, like, I'm not going to say it on the air, kind of what he says, kind of like, oh, blank. All right. He kind of shrugs his shoulders because I don't think he believed me. And he came over and he signed it, and I said, hey, boss, you're having a great camp, blah, blah, blah. He took all the first team reps with Ben Roethlisberger, which kind of leads into – so if Landry were by any chance to be listening to this, I doubt it because he's barely on social media, he's kind of like off the grid. I have a feeling he's going to – I don't know what his major was. Maybe he's going to be like Jason Bourne or something. And then we're all going to regret if he goes like, dark or something and has a list of names of people to check off. Like one of the Adam Sandler movie was that Happy Gilmore? I can't remember which one it was, with the guy that was like, and he crossed Adam Sandler off of it, but he had like his like list of people he hated from school.
Yeah.
So, well, no, maybe it was Billy Madison. I'm sorry, not
Billy
Happy
Madison.
Gilmore.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I'm glad I probably came off the Landry Jones list, but thank you, Landry, if you were listening. And I just compared you to being an elite special ops guy. But we're going to see a lot of Landry coming up. We have an actual football game with the Philadelphia Eagles coming. Well, somewhat of an actual football game. Most of the starters are not going to be playing. It's going to look, if you're at Friday Night Lights and you're one of the 10,000 people there, it's going to look a lot like that, with Landry Jones taking a lot of the first team reps, and of course Antonio Brown sitting out, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great story. It's cool. There was no doubt in my mind that if he could get a glimpse of you in the jersey, or see that you actually had it, that he would kind of feel like he had to sign it, because there's really, that has to be a unique experience for him.
Yeah.
Considering the general emotion towards Landry from Steelers Nation, because of unrealistic expectations, quite frankly. But still, that's pretty cool. And hopefully, you'll continue to treasure your wonderful Landry Jones signed item.
Hold that thought right there, because there are some adults, I swear, there's no way. There's guys who bring like all of these game used items and things like that. I don't know if they have a man cave or if they try and eBay this stuff. And I know you have a man cave, and this is like my fourth signed jersey. I treasure every single thing. It's just a conversation piece. I kind of agree. Eric Herman was needling me a little bit about adults looking for autographs, and it could be a gray area because, I let kids go right in front of me. There was like Chris Boswell was signing, Eli Rogers was signing over there. I saw Craig Wolfley, Shazier, of course, I mentioned. And I'll push kids right in front of me because I don't care. It's not that I wouldn't like to have something signed by like Ryan Shazier, but it's not the end of the world for me. This was a conversation piece and something that'll go in a frame eventually and up on the wall. So just to throw that out there, yes, I hope I made his evening at least.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo your sentiments. I've kind of given up on the chasing concept within things like training camp and whatnot, because in my mind, that's a much more suitable place for the kids to try and get their in. If I want somebody's autograph and there's a signing, I'll pay and go get it. And that's fine for me. Because I have my linebacker helmet, I got wide receiver helmets. I try and theme certain things, and it's the conversation piece thing for the man cave. I agree with that, and I think it's the right move. But it's something like this where Landry's probably not going to ever be signed to do a signing someplace. Hey, you get it if you can get it.
Yeah, exactly. And even at that point, I'm such a big dude. I got like, I'm 6'5", so I'm pulling like these smaller kids stand right in front of me because I don't need to be right on. And I wasn't right on top of the fence. Like I handed it over to him. And that's why I was kind of joking because there's like this little gap I was kind of just leaning on with my elbow. And literally TJ Watt was right there. And everybody's probably like, look at this dummy. He's, getting the backup quarterback instead of, the guy that's the star outside line. Yeah, the rising star like right there. And TJ, and these guys just sneak like 2 or 3 in and then they're out the gate because they're getting on the bus. They probably don't want to be grilled by their coaches or teammates or anything like that and then have something bad happen to him. By the way, I did talk to Chris Boswell for a short minute and I asked him how he felt. Did he miss D'Angelo Williams in camp? And he had this smirk on his face. He's like, nah. I was like he's heartbroken. He's heartbroken. So, but yeah. Anyways, if you were at the Friday Night Lights deal, there was quite a few. I mean, obviously Le'Veon Bell, you weren't going to get his autograph because he's not in camp. He's busy doing other things. If you saw the video, great. If not, well, too bad. Go Google it. I'm not going to talk about it here. I don't know how somebody films something like that and then you allow it to go on the internet other than just trying to needle people and raise their ire. That's all the more I'm going to say about it. So it's been covered. There's some other things, like Antonio Brown, we don't know quite what's going on with his health issues yet. Ben Roethlisberger took the day off. He was rested for Friday Night Lights. That's why he was pretty much signing, and then, he's doing whatever. So it's mostly the trifecta of what you're going to see Thursday when they play at Philadelphia. Landry's probably going to take the opening snaps. He may get a quarter if he gets a full quarter. And then it's going to be a heavy dose of Mason Rudolph and Josh Dobbs. I'm going to be interested to see who gets the nod first. My impression's going to be Mason Rudolph since he seems to be almost, I don't want to call him the 2. They don't necessarily throw Landry out there and have him taking a lot of reps because they know who Landry is. They know Landry's capable, and Landry doesn't need the work as much as Mason and Josh Dobbs do. So I think Mason's going to be first in line, and that's going to be interesting too, depending on which receivers play. Because if he gets like if James Washington plays like a full half, those two already have a chemistry, and James Washington appears to have a chemistry with everyone that he's been out there with. So all the reports you're reading about that, and this is the reason I mentioned that me and Zach were on opposite sides of the field. We're not sitting next to each other talking about this stuff when we're tweeting it. So when a lot of our stuff lines up and it's the same exact take, you could take that to the bank as 2 sources seeing the same thing. And James Washington has looked impressive, and the quarterback play has looked a lot better too. You saw my snarky little tweet though. I said Mason, it looks like he had a 206.8 QB rating because everybody's blowing him up, but he does make mistakes. He threw a pick too. So,
yeah, I've enjoyed the updates because I haven't been able to get out to camp yet this season. But it's answered a lot of specific questions that we had going into camp, and there's others that I think at this point you probably have more insight into as to what's going on and how these guys are looking, but. The one you're talking about, which I think is a big one, and we were all wondering about, is James Washington. But the question that comes to my mind with Washington is who is he going against right now? I know that he's run with the 1s a little. I know that he's run with the 2s. I know that the completely irrelevant initial depth chart has him even behind Trey Griffey, which just proves the complete uselessness of that initial depth chart. But what have you guys seen? What have you noticed when he is running? Where he's running? Is he facing guys like Artie Burns and Joe Hayden? Is he facing second, third string guys? And is he making the same kind of combative catches against all of them?
Yeah, it's more of the latter. He's been all over. I think he beat Artie on a play, if I recall correctly. My memory may be fuzzy now a few days later recording this, and it might not line up with what I tweeted, but just take it for a grain of salt because there's a lot of rotation going on. And I know Artie's been fighting and whatnot too, and I think he got beat. He was either beat by Juju or James Washington. I know he was beat by Washington at some point during the evening because I was like, whoa. Hayden has looked like, like Velcro, I think is what Zach likes to say. I try to not say the glove because I just heard something about, the old Gary Payton. That was his nickname, and now it's stuck in my head from the old Seattle Supersonics. They were talking about how he shut down Michael Jordan in the one NBA Finals, and now it's stuck in my head. But glove comes to mind when I'm watching Joe Hayden, when I'm watching Mike Hilton. Even Cam Sutton looking pretty sharp out there. Sensabaugh was getting beat some the other night. I don't know. It's going to be tough for him. This Jamar Summers that's coming up, he's going to get a lot of looks. I think he's maybe, at the tail end of the depth chart or practice squad material at this point. Deshaun Phillips has impressed. He's been very physical. Brian Allen has been very physical. And in some cases, we don't even hear those names because the guys are doing so well in the coverage. The guys I'm bringing up are the ones that are getting the balls. The targets are going their way because it's going to the guy they're covering. And I want to say that Dobbs put a dime for Juju, and Terrell Edmonds he was like step for step, so fluid, floating around the field like a butterfly. And it was like almost, this is full speed. I'm watching this in almost slow motion to where it's in Juju's hands. Perfect sideline pass to Juju. And Edmonds swats the ball out of his hand just like the basketball play I was talking about. So it's the secondary I've been very impressed with. We're seeing Burnett. These guys are lining up everywhere. They even have like Hilton and Sutton playing like some safety. We've heard, maybe not on this podcast yet, but dollar defense is a new thing. Yeah. We've been talking a lot about dime. We've alluded to this. It has a name for it now. This is where they're putting like Marcus Allen or one of these safeties in instead of a linebacker like John Bostic, who, by the way, also isn't at the top of the depth chart. They have Dirty Red Tyler Matakevich and I think now I've already forgotten which one it is, Brian. It was at the Mac or the Buck. I had it prepared for today. Me and Zach were tripping over this the other day, and now I already forgot which one's which with him and Vince Williams. God, fill me in if you got it. I already forgot. I wanted to say.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, and I don't remember.
I wanted to say he's the Buck.
Yeah, that's what I would guess, but I don't have it in front of me. So
Left inside linebacker. I'm going to go back to it and make me sound like a football fool. But they put Matakevich. I don't know if he's going to start the preseason game. This happened too. They released this depth chart last year, and then the guys who started the preseason game the following Thursday weren't the same guys that were at the top of the depth chart, and it just wrecked everyone's world. Obviously, like some of the guys like Pouncey, Roethlisberger, DeCastro, I don't expect them to suit up at all. Defensively, I think everyone but Hayward may suit up. Maybe even Hayden. They may give Hayden some veteran privilege. I don't know. Yeah, that all depends. But I think everyone else is going to be out there. But yeah, as far as camp's concerned, the top picks as far as Edmonds and Washington have been having a highlight reel. Some of the other guys we've talked about too, like Damon Patterson, still doing pretty solid, doing some impressive work, and making their case too. Matthew Thomas has also started to show up. I saw him do some good work on during the Friday Night Lights where I was having trouble finding them. Of course, they were on the far field, the defensive drills too, when I was at camp the previous weekend. So lots of things to be excited about and look forward to in this preseason game.
Yeah, one thing we were talking about receivers, and I want to get this out there because there's, I guess the media system with Twitter likes to immediately react to things. And there was some reaction about Juju being frustrated or making it seem like he's not having a good camp. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's made some mistakes, as everyone has. But overall, I think Juju's having a solid, if not a standout camp. But I not being there, I wanted to ask you about that. Clearly, he's had some mental errors, but it's not because he's spending all his time playing video games. Everybody makes mistakes. Would you say that Juju's doing, performing as well as expected, or do you think he is distracted?
I don't know that he's distracted whatsoever. He looks incredibly sharp. I think he holds himself to such a high standard. The bar is raised for him personally. I don't know if it's an expectation thing. I think it's just him. I think he's just a competitor, and he has looked faster, stronger, crisp, clean, the whole 9 yards. Athletic freak.
So in other words, don't worry about Juju.
No, don't. Juju is of no concern whatsoever. The only thing I'd be concerned with is if somebody got banged up, and there was a little concern with that. And then he's been practicing full through. So for the most part, you got Sean Davis and Morgan Burnett also starting to get the pads back on and whatnot too. These are things that happen. We were talking about fatigue, myself and Zach, and these guys are just going to be taking time off here or there, whether it be partial practice, full practice. It all depends on what it is. If you get anything serious like Ramon Foster, or it's kind of scary not knowing what's going on with Antonio Brown right now. But I don't know. You would think if it were something like he broke something or pulled something, you would have heard about it right now. It may just be illness, may even be personal. Remember we had that deal a year or two ago too. Oh, he isn't here. Oh, it was the birth of one of his kids. So nothing big to worry about there. Juju looks amazing. He was getting some extra work in. He's been getting a lot of extra work in post-practice, with Ben and some of the other quarterbacks too. Even on the sideline while there's other drills going on, these quarterbacks they're making sure that they're constantly in motion and doing something. It's not idle hands, which is very impressive to see. They're fighting for their spots is what they're doing.
Cool. Now, we went last year to camp, but we didn't get there as much as guys from SCU have been getting there this year. But talk about the feel. Do these practices have the same feel as the one we went to last year, where it was, it was nice, it was or is there a bigger focus? Do you feel like?
Well, it's tough because the personal experience with the two that I've made it out to now, Zach's been to about like 6 of them already because, he's like right there. Like he's 15 minutes away and I'm like 2 hours away. So a little bit more of a trip for me, and I'm going to try and be out there at least once or twice more throughout the rest of camp. But it has the big time feel. It's a lot more bigger feel when you're at the actual college. We got transplanted over to the high school the previous year because of the weather and the fields getting slopped up, and that almost happened here. But they've been using what they do is, if you're not familiar, they have 3 grass fields and they have a turf field, so they kind of rotate which fields they're doing exercises on as to not destroy this thing. You'll see groundskeepers out there if you're there early in the morning getting in line for trying to get a picture or an autograph of someone. That starts to queue up as soon as the gates open at 11 a.m. and you go over to the far side where the guys come down the steps, and there's like a gate and you wait there and everything like that. I know some people the reason I'm throwing this out is because some people were asking about this information. They come to camp. How do you get autographs? I just want to lower expectations because you're not going to see everybody. It all depends on their availability, as far as they may be with media, they may be injured, they may have some friends or family from out of town. They end up talking to and they walk away. That's all like just normal here, So it still has a big feel. I think that Saturday practice they had like 5,000 people there. It gets big. You get a couple ham bones that are in the crowd that are yelling, business, it's booming, yelling at AB, and he acknowledges you like once, and then you keep doing it, and it's like, okay, he's got to get to work. Right. He's ignoring you after that.
Now, speaking of work, as you said, there's a game on Thursday against the Eagles. I think we both agree that, as you said, the starters are not going to get a lot of time. Maybe a couple linemen get some time, and probably not Pouncey, but maybe a couple like Gilbert and maybe DeCastro will get a couple snaps, but maybe not. What do you think people should be looking at in that game? I know what I think people should be looking at, but based on your experiences at camp, what do you think people should be looking at?
Oh, I'm going to be excited to see Jalen Samuels. We're going to see a little dose of James Conner, I have a feeling. He's going to look explosive. It may not come on the first carry, but if he gets 3 to 5, I expect 2 of those to come off real well, and maybe even like a target or 2 in the pass game. Depends on the progressions and whatnot. They're going to definitely go. I don't know. See, this is different. This is Randy Fichtner. I was going to say with the Todd Haley deal, you could almost guarantee, like especially if it's Landry Jones, you could guarantee 1 of 2 things. He's going to go deep from probably about the 30-40 and take a shot, or when they get close enough for, 25, 30-yard, corner end zone route or something like that, that would probably be the MO. I don't know that we're going to see the same thing necessarily there. Now, if it's Josh Dobbs in there, I expect Josh Dobbs to go deep. Dobbs has been throwing some balls downfield. His eyes are downfield a lot in these practices. Rudolph, not so much. Rudolph will check it down. Rudolph will throw something in the dirt. I actually expect to see Rudolph be better than maybe Lamar Jackson, but he's going to be pressured. He's going to have backup linemen in there. You never know what kind of mismatch there's going to be there with the Eagles guys. Likewise, on the defensive side, too, I don't know if we're going to see Nick Foles. We got treated to, Chase Daniel and RG3 the other night with the Hall of Fame game. And RG3 actually looked pretty sharp, by the way. Chase Daniel is the guy that we made fun of for three-year, $21 million or whatever it was. It was $7 million a year when the Eagles signed him as a backup. Everybody wanted him. It was just ridiculous, and you see, and now that he's bounced around a few teams, and see how that worked out. And that's not to say he's a bad quarterback; it's what he's working with. So, the whole backup quarterback situation across the entire NFL isn't too bright. In fact, it's pretty bleak. So, even though we may poke some fun here or there at Landry Jones, I call him the GOAT. There aren't very many backup quarterbacks I place above him. Unfortunately, I say that in the context of the Steelers are going to play the Eagles. Now, I don't know that they have an excellent backup who just won a Super Bowl MVP in Nick Foles, who even surprised me as far as expectations, come, last February. But I don't know that they're going to throw Foles out there because Wentz hasn't really been practicing either, and they're kind of babying him along. With, he had that horrific knee injury. So they're taking their time with him, and I don't know that they're going to want to risk Foles getting hurt. So as far as surgical precision or anything like that against the defense, I think there's still going to be some of the first team defense, but if you remember the first preseason game against the Giants last year, it was Geno Smith, I think, started for them, and Arthur Moats. It was one of those things where Mike Tomlin said, he was playing against the JVs or whatever when he got out there. But I think TJ was out there first. I think Bud Dupree was out there. Oh, Bud Dupree had an awesome Friday Night Lights, man. He looked good, real good. That changed to the other side might may not do the Steelers any favors when it comes to a new contract, but in the future, but it's going to look nice. So we just talked about Philadelphia too. Terry did with one of her, Steelers Nation across the nation deals with the Steelers bars and that. And I wanted to make sure I brought it up before the end of the show as well. I mentioned something about, Gameday tailgate experience. They mention elevate your tailgates, basically. But if you want to party with GTE at the Steelers versus Jaguars game on November 18th, you're going to find the best open bar, all-you-can-eat tailgate. Yes, I said open bar, all-you-can-eat tailgate. That means you get yourself down to Jacksonville, you buy a ticket to this thing. There's going to be some celebrities there. Now, keep in mind, some of the former Steelers, that we've interviewed on the show, you're not going to have Hines Ward or Troy Polamalu, but you're going to have some former Steelers or some former Jaguars there. It's a real nice, friendly environment. Open bar, all-you-can-eat, DJs, games, like I said, celebrity hosts, former players. All of this, you don't have to worry about it. Just bring your jersey and your terrible towel if you're flying down. You don't have to worry about hitting up any type of grocery stores or lugging along tables if you're driving or anything like that. They take care of all of this for you for one cost. It's like a 4-hour-long deal before the game. So very cool. Game day tailgate experience. You can find out more at GTEpresents.com. And if you go there and use the promo code SteelCity, all is one word, you'll get 20% off of your tailgate ticket. So make sure you check that out. And Steel City Underground is going to be in attendance down in Jacksonville, barring any kind of crazy weather or anything else. But now we're looking ahead to Philadelphia. We talked a little bit about the offense, Brian. I don't know. You were maybe looking defensive expectations here. I mentioned Bud Dupree, but you know what? He may get a series or two. I mean, the reality is it's going to be a lot of the second, third, and the guys that are basically, I hate using the term because these guys are human beings, as we mentioned, but camp bodies. That's their role, so.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, usually the way that these preseason games play out is, the first 3 games, you get to see most guys that really have a good shot at making the 53, other than confirmed starters who are going to get minimal play until that third game, in which case they might get a quarter to a half. But the fourth game is really guys auditioning for their next role. Yes. So this being the first game, we'll see camp bodies, especially when we get back to the third and fourth quarters of the game. It's likely that you're going to have guys who the coaching staff thinks have some potential, but who are so low on the depth chart that the likelihood of them they need the opportunity to shine. But I guess what I'm looking at, especially from the defensive side, because I think we covered the offensive guys who probably are worth a look, as far as what we're going to see. But from the defensive side, who are you looking at outside of starters? Because we assume they're not going to get much time. But that second tier players, who are you looking at, and who do you think has the best chance to make a push?
All of the backup cornerbacks, because you got, like we've always said, 1 and possibly even a 1A with Hayden and Burns. I'm excited to see Cam Sutton in a role like that. He's moving all over the secondary, so keep an eye on that. He's going to be moving around. I'm excited to see if how much time Sean Davis gets some work in a new position at free safety. That's going to be interesting. I'm going to be interested in seeing if Morgan Burnett plays, and if he does, if he plays over Edmonds, or if it's going to be like, TJ Watt got a lot of playing time in the preseason. He may again this time too, just as a second-year player. I think Edmonds will see a lot of time even if he does not start. But I really like the cornerback battle. Like I said Sutton, I jumped there already. I think Hilton, he's kind of locked into his position, so they're going to see if like Deshaun Phillips, or I mentioned Jamar Summers. Cody Sensabaugh is fighting for his probably his roster life at this point. He has the veteran advantage, but he's only under contract for this year, and then he's done. That was a 2-year deal last year. So, he may be the veteran, but Phillips has some starting experience in the NFL when he played for the Redskins, and he's not ready to just let this slip away. Summers is probably more a practice squad type guy, but I think he's been moving up and down the depth chart too. So he didn't just stand out to me. I think the coaches are seeing something in him as well. That's probably the reason why he stands out to me. Honestly, I'll give the coaches more credit to me. But when you see him doing stuff, he's getting the opportunities. He's making the most of them. And of course, we want to see the linebackers. We want to see some of the linebacker play, particularly John Bostic. We want to see Tyler Matakevich. We want to see Matthew Thomas. I mean, we know Vince Williams. We know Vince Williams well. We know all the guys along the defensive front pretty well. I think the big one to look for there is going to be number 69. That's Josh Frazier from Alabama. 7th round pick. He's fighting with Dan McCullers for a spot, and I made mention of, and this is one of the things where you pick out like one tweet and you make a mountain out of a molehill. I did say that McCullers looked like he tried to arm tackle. I forgot who it was, Ridley or Connor or something, and it didn't work. And it was just, it stood out to me just because of where the play went right up in the gap. Otherwise, it's like you got so many other moving pieces, and you don't get to rewatch this film that I can't make a big judgment on it. But there's no ifs, ands, or buts that McCullers was brought back on a 1-year deal because Carl Dunbar is a new defensive lineman. They're going to see if they could squeeze anything out of him, or if this is the end of the road and Frazier takes his spot. It's going to be interesting to look at that. You may not get anything out of that either because there's a lot of vanilla defense, especially in these early games. I don't expect it to be pretty. I expect there to be turnovers and interceptions, incompletions, timing being off, and I also expect people to make a big deal out of the score one way or the other when it doesn't mean a hill of beans.
Yeah, that last one is I don't want to call it a pet peeve because pet peeves are your thing.
Oh, it is. It's definitely. If you don't know, there's another short plug for Joe's Pet Peeves, Twitter and .com.
Yeah. But it is a annoyance of mine that people get bent about winning or losing in the score of these initial preseason games or any preseason games. They don't count, and there's a lot of experimentation that goes on. I'll tell you. You mentioned the dollar defense, and this is one of the things I'm really interested in looking at because right after Terrell Edmonds was drafted, we talked about it on the podcast that one of the things when people say they didn't address the inside linebackers is the fact that we said, well, maybe they did, but not in the way we anticipate. And I think this quirk is what exactly we were talking about, where they have 7 DBs and no linebackers on the field. That's a different feel, and certainly one that, takes advantage of the talent that they have on the roster. I'll be interested to see if they actually roll this out in any of the preseason games. So it's one of the things I'll be looking for. And I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Ola Adnai, maybe is it? I don't know. I know that he's been active on social media. He's a low end guy, but he has caught some of media's attention.
Yes.
With some of his play, and so I'm looking at him. Definitely Matthew Thomas, who we talked about beforehand, I think has some upside. And I was really encouraged when Zach was tweeting about the fact that he's looked good in coverage and looked good in what they've asked him to do, because, the knock on him has been his potential lack of instinct. So if he's starting to get it and is able to put the packages together, that's a big steal that they've got there in an undrafted free agent, potentially. So, and Bostic is another one. He's been stating he doesn't want to ever come off the field. Can he be a guy that never comes off the field? And of course, Terrell Edmonds. I want to see Terrell Edmonds, and I'm going to be watching how he looks and flows and covers in live action as opposed to practices.
I'll tell you one more. I got a bonus. I got actually maybe 2 bonus, because I still see Keith Kelsey keeps showing up anytime I'm looking around on the field. He's in that mix too with the inside linebackers. But the bonus one is the newly signed tight end Bucky Hodges, who caught a nice catch in traffic. It was definitely a combat catch going to the ground the other night, and he's definitely, you see him even just in the warm-ups and the drills, and you could tell he's an athlete as well. He's going to make a case, I think, in these games, because Rudolph probably even more than Dobbs, but I cannot stress enough how much I've seen the tight ends be a focus of training camp so far. They're splitting them out wide. They're doing drills where I'm telling you, even Roethlisberger, working in Vance McDonald, then you bring in the next set of guys, and it's like Landry Jones is working with Jesse James, and then you bring in the next set of guys, and they're even working with Christian Scotland Williamson, and now Bucky Hodges and Xavier Grimble. I don't want to miss Xavier Grimble out of that too. So keep an eye on the tight ends as well. Some of the lower tier wide receivers, we mentioned Trey Griffey earlier, higher on the depth chart, but there's also Tevin Jones, who gets his name called some in practice. We mentioned Damon Patterson. You're going to want to look for Quadri Henderson specifically in the return game. We're going to see if Cam Sutton's going to be one of these punt returners as well. I think that some of the running backs. Fitz Toussaint is still looking sharp. He broke off a nice long run the other night too, and he's going to be in that mix. There's just a lot. It's tough because you go from 91 down to 53. And they only cut once. They cut to 75 now, I believe, and then that's it. So after they got 2 games, so you're going to be looking at who are the first 15 or so that are going to. I think they get to keep 76 because of Scotland Williamson. So there's going to be 15 names that are going to go. They're going to be bye-bye. If it's a guy that doesn't get any playing time whatsoever, then you kind of know that's going to be on that side of things. I think one might be this punter, this Matt Wiley. They brought in 2 punters. They did not bring in 2 kickers, so one of the specialists might be gone. Maybe a couple linemen or so too, but it'll be interesting just to look. Those are the things you want to look for in this game. Don't look for the score. Don't look for whoever, this, that. There may be a splash play here or there we get to talk about, but remember, those usually end up being Duran Grant, who made another one in the Hall of Fame game the other evening too. So don't get overhyped on any of this stuff. Level your expectations. Try to see the X's and O's and the moving parts, and try to take things by little bits here or there. And of course, if a defender tips a ball, don't blame the quarterback for the interception. If a guy runs the wrong route, or Kobe Hamilton, sets it up like a volleyball play for the spike and it gets picked off, it is really what it is. At least appreciate that there's not like Bart Houston out there because of injuries, and just the football will be unwatchable. I think it'll at least be somewhat entertaining if you know what you're looking for, and this is your cup of tea.
Yeah, I'll get the unenviable joy of having to listen to the Eagles broadcast of this game because of being out here in Jersey. But it'll be interesting to see, what the opposite side says about any of the guys that we have. So that'll be a different kind of take as opposed to listening to our own, hometown analysis. But yeah, it's as you mentioned, it's all of these preseason games. You really have to temper your expectations so that you're not going too high or too low on any of this, especially as you get into the second halves of these games. You got to remember the level of competition that these guys are playing against. You got to remember what's going on, as a combination of things, and that most of the guys you're going to see late in the game probably aren't even going to be on the practice squad. You never know. If somebody really blows the roof off and moves up, that's kind of one of the reasons to watch this first game, is to see where these guys then end up in the second game. If a guy isn't getting any playing time, you can pretty much assume he's gone on the downside. And if a guy seems to be that was playing in the late half or in second half of this game is all of a sudden playing earlier, that's a good sign. Just temper what you expect.
Yeah, especially since like a lot of them, you get like 3 to 5 reps in a particular drill, if you're getting that, depending on how deep and how much competition there is at a position. And then you've got that spread over the course of, you may not run the same drill every practice, and there's like 10 or 11 practices prior to this game. The OTAs and mini camps, and again, a lot of this is football in shorts. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of, there's some pads. I think they've had 3 padded practices so far, maybe 4. But they're only allotted so many of those too. They're not the Baltimore Ravens. They're not going to just do it and get in trouble and pay the penalty. Oh, I had to take that shot. I've been waiting so long to say that, but we'll leave it at that. I'm not going to talk about Lamar Jackson. I'm not going to talk about Johnny Manziel in the Canadian Football League. I think we'll be looking at maybe a little bit, at least since it's our Steelers. It's tough watching other teams. It really, it's like watching paint dry sometimes. So, Brian, happy to finally have you back, buddy. I said you were on assignment. That was a lie. I'm sorry, everyone. He wasn't on assignment. He was just busy.
Yeah, real life busyness impeding on my Steelers life fun.
That's not cool.
Yeah, it really wasn't cool, but it happens. And I just want to also give you guys a shout out. You, Zach, both Zachs, as a matter of fact. Even Tommy Jaggy, a lot of the SCU guys are doing some really good stuff. Follow them all on Twitter, because as they're at these practices, they're giving you some real time insight into what's going on, and it's been great to follow all that. You guys have been doing a great job.
Oh, well, thank you. And I'll throw Eric in there too, because he's been out there, and I know he wants to be entertained. Are you not entertained? I think of Gladiator, so whenever I hear him say that. But folks, don't forget to check out our sponsor, GTE Presents, for the Jaguars Tailgate, and of course, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, my name's Joe. His name's Brian. Be safe, be good. We'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.